Freedom Island.
You know what? One of these days, if I ever listen to this again, I'm going to hear
The tires of the cars
going through the water on the road out here, and I'm going to wonder why I didn't go ahead and make this in the house. Or if somebody else listens to it, they might think the same thing. And it's because everybody in my family are stubborn. Seem like they can't learn anything. There's 6 of us in this house right now, and 3 of them have definitely got COVID, and 2 more of them got COVID. They don't think they do, but I can see them. They all got the same symptoms. I don't care what that little line on that little white plastic box says. They've all got the same thing. I'm the only one that doesn't have it, and that's because I have been sleeping out here on the side porch, which it's too cold for. There's a Davenport out here, and I got a couple sleeping bags. We got a loft up over the garage in the back there. Daddy used to go hunting, and he had sleeping bags up there, and I had to go up and kind of fight the mice for them, but I got them. And there wasn't really mice. I'm messing around here. I was trying to make the little kids laugh, and I told Tom and Jerry was up there, and they were pulling like in the cartoons, and I was pulling, and they were pulling, and I was pulling, and then I won because I was bigger. And the little one said, "You are bigger than a mouse," and the other one said, "But not any smarter," and they both went, "Ah ha ha ha," and I thought, it's a bad day when you get bested by children when you're trying to make a little joke with them, and they're better at jokes than you are. So I got them sleeping bags, and if you go down the laundromat, they've got regular washers like you put in from the top, and then they've got some sideways ones with front loading, and those you have to put your debit card in. I have a debit card, but one time when I put mine in, I bought like 188 minutes or something. I hope the next 4 people who used it appreciated getting free dryer time, because I didn't know how to do it. And so I'm afraid of using those front loader washer dryers. So I do they got a big load one that's to the side, and you put quarters in that one. It's in the wall, It is front loading like the other ones, but you can just stuff it all full. It works different. It doesn't wash like swash clothes around in the washing water. It like kind of sprays or like squirts the water like through some way. I don't really understand. But anyway, if you was to take your clothes and stuff them real tight in a laundry machine dry, try to get as many in as you could. I mean, for one thing, you might just break the agitator, it goes around. But also that some of the clothes wouldn't even get wet. You know what I mean? In the middle, when you pull them out, they'd still be dry and dirty in the middle. But this big one don't do that because it's made to get the water and the soap through in a different way, and it can hold a lot. So I put both of Daddy's big, heavy camouflage sleeping bags in there. They're the old kind that's cotton, that's like a quilted like, and they weigh a lot. They got the modern ones now that's got that like teddy bear fluff in them, but I mean, it must be some kind of magical teddy bear fluff that keeps you from getting cold, because you'd freeze to death. If you got some of that stuff you get at Joann Fabric and try to make your sleeping bag out of that, you freeze to death because it's not made for keeping the cold out. But anyway, whatever it is they do at NASA or wherever they make sleeping bag technology. So if you're not hunting, but you're hiking up a hill, you want a thin one. But the ones we got are for hunters, and they don't hike. I mean, they carry it into wherever they put their blind up or their campsite, and they'll keep you warm. I washed them, and I know they're clean. You know what they smell like? They smell like hound dogs. You can't get hound dog smell out of cotton or anything else. But, I like Daddy's dogs. There was one named Gypsy and one named, golly, I can't remember what the other one. He named the other one Bob Dylan. he said when he went, you know, he went, oh, whoa, you know, like that. Yeah, he said that was Bob Dylan. Oh man, my dad had missed the whole disco, and he missed new wave, and he missed when there was cable TV and you could watch Top of the Pops on TV and all that stuff, and rap and hip hop and all that stuff. Daddy missed all of that, like, and he couldn't tell the difference between like a Peter Paul and Mary and like rock and roll or blues, or he missed everything that wasn't either on country western station or on WIBC. If it wasn't one of those, he didn't know what it was, and he just put it all together and call it Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan the dog. So that's what the sleeping bags smell like. They smell like Gypsy and Bob Dylan. I don't mind it too bad. And then the Davenport smells like mom's cigarette smoke. My dad got lung problems from work. He worked at a milling place where they mill metal down. You know, it's like they grind it and they shape it to a certain thickness. And they've got a respirator they're supposed to wear, but a lot of them didn't wear it because it's so hot in the building. The respirator made them hot. Sometimes also they didn't have one that wasn't clogged up. Those respirators, you know, those ones that look like a creature from the Black Lagoon, and it's got like a big tube on both sides of your face, like under the eyes. And those would get like a mesh, it's like a filter or a mesh or something supposed to keep that metal dust out. And those would get clogged up. They weren't supposed to, but they got clogged up. I think they were supposed to have some kind of maintenance that was supposed to be looking after them, but you know, when you spend a whole day grinding down metal to 1/64th of an inch or whatever, and you get done with the day, you just put that respirator mask down on the work table and you go home, or go to the tavern or wherever you go. So he'd put that mask on, and then he'd say he couldn't breathe through it. And he said it was the mesh that was clogged up, and maybe it was, but now I'm thinking about it, and he might have already had the lung problems from breathing it in. So you can't see it. It's just like a real fine, like dust. And a lot of people here got something. Back in when they did cars, you know, it's been a long time since they made cars in Indianapolis, but back in the old days, like Grandpa and Great-Grandpa and stuff like that, they worked in the car places. All kinds of problems from there. They made cars, tires, seats, all that stuff. You know, they made the steel up in Gary, so at least we didn't have the steel mills here, but then they fabricated it all down here and assembled it anyway. I don't actually know where they made some of the parts, but they put the cars together down here. But it's been a long time since they did that. But they used to have a lot when I was little of like job work places where they put together all the pieces and parts for things. And now they do that all global, you know, probably just as good. I mean, I feel sorry for the Malaysian people or the Mexican people or whoever is breathing that dust now. But that's how it is. So anyway, he couldn't breathe after a while. The doctor said Mom couldn't smoke in the house when Daddy was in there because it made his breathing worse. So she would come out here to the side porch and sit on this Davenport and smoke. It smells like cigarette smoke. So when I lay out here, it is a little bit chilly this time of year to be out here, but compared to being in the hospital where it's always cold because they keep it turned down, you know, to keep the germs down, you know, that's why it's cold in the hospital. Did you know that? Now I said, did you know that? Like, who am I talking to? I'm talking to myself. I'm recording this to myself. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if this family, I always think they have not got hold of my brains and twisted them around too bad, but sometimes I don't know. I just don't know. Well, anyway, so it's not too bad to sleep out here because the cigarette smell has kind of, you know, because being out in the fresh air, because it's screened on 3 sides. So over time, it don't smell as much like Winston's as what it used to. I have to go in the house to go to the bathroom and get something to eat and so on. And you never know when you're going to run into one of them in the hallway. And even though they know they got COVID, do they put a mask on? Do they stay back from me? No. I do feel sorry for them that they feel so awful. and I got my vaporizer out and took it in and left it where they could get hold of it. I don't blame them to get sick. It's not like they deserve it. It's a virus. It's not a God's judgment or anything like that on them, but they are dumb bunnies. They wouldn't even wear the right kind of a mask, one that would really work. They would just wear, it looked like like one of them sheets you put in the dryer. They put on something that was kind of like that, it's just, you could practically see right through it. They thought they were so funny. They make a big thing of not putting a mask on their face right. Like when you still had to wear a mask, which a lot of places you didn't ever have to wear it here, and even if it was supposed to be the rule, nobody did it anyway. But there's a couple places like Walmarts and post office. For a little while, you had to have a mask on, and they would take their mask and they put their nose hanging out, or they kind of have it like down on their chin. They remind me of those people. Some places you have to have a helmet on to ride a motorcycle, and there's people that don't want to, which I understand that. But since they make them wear a helmet, instead of just giving up and putting on a helmet that protect their pumpkin head, they'll put on, they call it a skid lid, and it's made to not protect your head. Like, it's their protest against having to put on a helmet. So they gotta have it on their head anyway. So they pay money and they put something on their head that's uncomfortable, and it's made to not protect their head. That's what some of this mask stuff has been like when people even had to do it, which they didn't have to do it that much anyway. But everybody in this family, they bought a big old box of these masks, and I swear they felt like a skid lid. Like, it was almost like when you put it on just what it was made of, you were really saying you didn't believe in the virus. Or it's like telling some kid in high school to pull their pants up, and have their butt hanging out in class or whatever, and you got to tell them to pull them up, and it's like a defiance thing or whatever. That's what it's like with people in my family. They're letting you know they don't believe in it. And I think, since you had to put it on your face anyway, even if you didn't believe in it, just like you have to put on shoes or a shirt, no shirt, no shoes, You don't see people going in, you do once in a while, being in Indiana. Once in a while, you see somebody in the grocery store trying to go in Kroger, and, he's got his shirt in his back pocket hanging out, and he wants everybody to see, that he does roofing, and he's got a nice tan on his back and all that stuff. Well, fine, And then somebody has to tell him to put his shirt on, and he makes a big thing out of it, and then puts it on, puts his t-shirt on and comes in. And I think, well, okay, some people are just always 11 years old in their mind anyway, I guess, or their behavior. And I think when they first started having the mask thing, the people who had to make the rules would kind of do their job. But for one thing, it's concealed carry here, so they'll just shoot you just to look at them sideways. They'll shoot you because you don't put a pickle on their hamburger here. So I don't want to tell people here what the rule is and what they got to do, and just see which one is just going to go cuckoo on you. Pull out, gun in their sock and a gun behind their ear and a gun, on a backwards necklace around their back or whatever, because they've been watching commando movies or something. And, you also just get tired. I used to have a sheet that I needed people to fill out. I've had one job where I was a supervisor, and the people were supposed to go over their time cards where we clock in and sign a paper that said they had looked at their time card and they verified that it matched what they believed their hours was. So that way, if there was a dispute, when the thing got turned into the pay, accounting and all that stuff, and then people say, I had some hours I didn't get paid for, then I would say, well, you have filled out your form, that it's your responsibility to look at this, because it's got to be corrected before it goes to the office. Once it's in the office, it's like the 10 Commandments engraved in the tablets. You know what I mean? Once it gets up the stairs and over on the west side of the building where we were working at, it was never to be seen again. It is not fixable. It's like trying to unlaunch a missile or something. You already push the button launch, it's gone. So I used to tell the people, you've got to sign this paper that you looked at your time card, and they didn't want to. Now, it was always the first ones that wanted to gripe if they thought they didn't get to 2 hours, which I want them to have. There wasn't nobody that did not want them to have their hours. Everybody wanted to have their hours. And also, it wasn't my paper. I didn't invent it. It wasn't my idea. I just got told to tell them to do it. And also, I thought it was a good idea that they would look at their card. And I thought it was a good idea that the office would protect itself from people coming back just trying to, mess with people or get a little bit of extra pay on their check. I mean, who doesn't want extra pay? But that's not the way to get it. So the thing is, I can empathize with these people that do the mask. After a while, we have to tell people to put your mask on their face. After I'd spent 8-9 months trying to get people to sign their sheet, I'd chase them around with it with the clipboard, and they'd say, well, I haven't looked at it yet. And I said, it's Wednesday, and we turn them in on Wednesday night. And I've been talking to you about this since Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, come on. And they wouldn't do it. And after a while, I just started filling in that paper. I had 2 or 3 different pens, and I could do all of their initials or their sign, because of them doing it before. I could copy it pretty good, and I just forged it, which meant if they got shorted on their check, they got messed over. It wasn't to their advantage to do it that way, because once it was signed like that, it was doomed, So trying to mess with me and push back, they were just hurting themselves, but they couldn't say it. I mean, it was also helped me. I admit it. Them doing their paper was easier for me, but it protected them, but they couldn't see it. People in my family they like to talk about like secret, imaginary stuff they hear on the radio that, I just don't even understand. They're not that dumb. They're like impulsive, and they make a bad choice. They don't think things out, but they can think. It's not like people look at us from where we live, kind of jobs we've had, our families had, where our background is from, and all this stuff, and they think that we are dumb rednecks, and we are not dumb. We might not do what everybody in the world does the way they would do it from other places, in other circumstances. But nobody in my family, I say they're dumb, but I mean they're acting dumb. But as far as their mind, they are not dumb. But they can't. Sometimes you got to get a plan or do something to make life work. You got to do step like 1, step 2, step 3, step to get it fit. Or you got to mark on the calendar so you remember to go to the thing. Or if you get an idea in your head, maybe you shouldn't just do the very first thing that somebody says or something you hear about or some idea that you get. Maybe you should think about it first. And that's something nobody in our family seems like they know how to do. I don't think they even really believe in some of this nonsense they talk about, but they say it because it sounds like they like to belong to some kind of secret organization, not the CIA exactly, but, people in the know or something like that. And I think, what the hell are you talking about? I'm not saying there's not things in the government that's probably pretty questionable. I'm not saying I don't understand that part. But the idea that you could get there's people here that think that they put little chips or nano something. And I thought, I don't know if you've ever met any nurses, but they recruited all these secret nurses and brainwashed them to do this evil work. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. Like I said, not in their mind stupid, but their behavior stupid. Maybe it was just with the bad masks. Maybe it was just a matter of trying to save money. I mean, that's another thing people in our family does sometimes is they'll buy a cheap used car on Craigslist or something, and they'll think they know how to fix it, or they just want to get it right away with whatever they've got from their paycheck. And it's got obvious problems with it, and then they end up putting money in it. And I understand it's frustrating when you don't have money, and it's frustrating when you got problems. They can't think ahead of how that little bit of problem they think they've solved now made a bigger problem for them later, And instead of getting a mask that would keep them well, they bought this crappy mask that was just for show and then wouldn't put it on their face right. And I don't know, maybe no mask in the world would have saved them anyway. You can't have your mask on your face every minute. And like I said, I'm not blaming them really that they got sick. It's a virus, not them exactly. But they didn't do anything to make it easier. And the main thing I am irritated with them is that they just go in and get bunched up with people because the other people are doing it. Even if you don't want to put a mask on, even you don't feel it's like it's against your constitution or rights or whatever, there's a time to go to a grocery store or there's time to go get something to eat where it's not so busy and crowded. But everybody in this family, the minute you could go in places again and take your mask off and put your faces all up together and breathing on each other, bam, they were in there going to, TGIF Fridays and whatnot, riding in the car together, windows up and all that stuff. And it's hard to know. They all do it, so it's even hard to know which one made which one sick. So, and I don't even know, would it help to even know that? So, but I'm staying out here, and they make fun of me in the house because they believe in that you should get it. They want people to get. I believe they're trying to give it to me. Honestly, I believe they think that would be good for me, and in the first place, it would not be good for me because I've already got a scar, something from, I had a bad bronchitis, I guess. I had something bad a few years ago, and I was coughing, and they gave me 2 kinds of pills. One was a blue pill and one was something else. I can't remember now what they were supposed to do, but they didn't do anything. I guess, I don't think it was the coughing. It was just, I don't know what it was, but somehow it got down, that sickness got down in the bottom part of my lungs, and there's like little pockets down in there, and it messed up the way it was made down in there. Like I got places where you're supposed to have little areas where the air and the blood mixes together some way or something like that, and mine don't do that. Like there's like scar something in there I think over time it might even get better, but it takes a long time. So I'm double not wanting to get this COVID because I don't think it's made for people that's got something that's already going on, and they all know it too. They all know it here that I've got lung trouble. Do they care? No. They're just, if they're in the bathroom, they wouldn't even think to wait and come out, like look to see if I'm in the hall or something. You just don't know when they're going to come popping right out in your face. Makes me kind of mad, really. They're not going to listen, and it's just, I could get a very smashed face, banging my face on the wall with frustration and, make my nose look funny, and I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to do that. Just let them do what they're going to do, like I always have done. I'd rather be cold here than cold in the hospital with a hospital blanket on me laying on a gurney while I'm waiting to get it put in the room if they have one for me because I can't breathe. They're all in there hacking and coughing. They'll live. There's nobody in the family's got to go to the ER, I don't think. They'll all pull through all right, but they're miserable. They can't sleep at night. They sit up. None of them, they can't breathe through their nose and stuff's running down their throat, and they feel tired like, and Lauren said she felt like an elephant was sitting on her, squishing her. But they're all right. The little ones ain't coming around. They're got an auntie lady that's lives next door, and over at the other house, and they're going to keep the kids over at her house for a couple days until you got to have so many days to be negative tests, and then you can go out again. So I'm going to wait for that, and then I can come back in the house. If I ever come back in the house. I'm tired of those people anyway. I got a break. So anyway, I got to set up everything out here, and we got a electric outlet out here that's got covers over it. Won't let the rain in. It's over in the corner. This didn't used to be a porch. It used to be the outside. There was 2 cover plastic thing that was out in the back where you put your, supposed to be where you put your, like, electric lawnmower. And they used to put the Christmas decorations and plug them in there. Then they built this porch over it. And so it's still enclosed on the inside, so I can hook up the laptop and all that, and a light and everything out here. I'm kind of joking around this time because I used that Signal app to get hold of some of these crazy people that Uncle Boyce has been hanging around with on the internet. Ted Edward Jones and all them. It makes you laugh. They're scary, but they're dumb. They're so, I don't know if they were dumb to start with, and that's how they got into all this, because you couldn't really have a lot of sense and believe in a lot of the stuff they say. But then on the other hand, maybe it makes you dumb somehow. Like maybe they started out smarter and then hanging around each other, talking about this dumb stuff. I don't know, can you get dumber after you're already born and your brain has got all developed and everything? Can you actually go backwards? You know how like when you're a little kid and you learn things and you get smarter and you get new things that you find out and then you attach them to the other things. Can you actually go backwards and unlearn from your brain? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, but I swear some of them seem like that's what they're doing. They're going backwards in the smarts. So I got this application thing on the smartphone. What it was is they wanted me to message them because they have access to things on the internet, on the web, that it's not for everybody. It has to be by invitation. So they said they wanted me to send them a message, and then they would send me back a message telling me where to access this information. And I spent a couple weeks agitating and not being able to sleep and worrying about what kind of, maniacs I might be dealing with and what kind of super spy secret network things they might have and could they hook onto my computer. And now I could just laugh. I never saw such a bunch of, it's like clubhouse kids up in a tree making a tree house or something. I thought that I would have to go some kind of secret, I don't even know what the dark web is, but they have dark web because they say it on TV. Like if you watch some of those suspense shows and things like that. I was watching one the other day where people needed money, and it was like Survivor or one of those shows where they put people on an island or something and everybody watches. But it was in the TV show I was watching. It wasn't a Survivor show I was watching, but it was a show about how somebody has made a show like that, and they get somebody and they chase them. And if they cannot get caught in 3 days or something like that, then they get money. But if they catch them, they kill them. People do it because either they want to be famous or they want money or whatever. And they were saying how they got the money to pay the person was that people were betting and they were doing it on the dark web and things like that. So that's all I know about it is I've seen it they talk about it on TV. So I thought maybe when I did the Signal thing that I would have to be directed to take my computer someplace, and then could the FBI or something even know I was on the dark web? And also, would other bad things that is on the dark web come and find me because I hooked up my computer to it, and bitcoins and spies from Russia or China or something? I mean, I don't know. My mind was going round and round. Well, it's a Weebly site or Weebly, Wobbly. Hang on a minute. Weebly. That's what it's called. So these super secret, magical, dangerous assassins of terror that's going to mess up the whole world, all that Signal app and secret message coding and everything, and then where they send me over there is a website they made on Weebly. All right.